Welcome back to Coin Price, the only place where pocket change can turn into a massive payday. Today, we're uncovering the top 5 most valuable state quarters that could be sitting in your old change jar or hiding at the bottom of your kitchen drawer. These aren't just any quarters. One tiny minting error, one overlooked detail, and your 25-cent coin could be worth over $500,000. That's right. Some of these coins have sold for prices most people wouldn't believe. So grab your magnifier and stick around, because by the end of this video, you might just start seeing your pocket change in a whole new light. And if you enjoy this kind of treasure hunting, don't forget to subscribe to Coin Hunt Daily right now, because next time, it might be your coin that makes the headlines. Now, first up, let's talk about a coin that might look ordinary at first glance. But don't be fooled, because if you spot the right one, this single dollar could turn into a small fortune. We're talking about the 1879 to 1877 Ulysses S. Grant presidential $1 coin. And yes, that reverse date span already raises eyebrows. It honors the 18th President of the United States, Ulysses S. Grant, a Civil War hero whose leadership helped preserve the Union. But for collectors, it's not just Grant's legacy that makes this coin special, it's what lies hidden in its details. Now, most people who see this coin assume it's part of the ordinary presidential $1 series minted between 2007 and 2016. And they're right, at least for the standard versions. But what they don't know is that there's an ultra-rare version minted with a shocking defect, the missing edge lettering. Normally, these coins have the year, mint mark, and "In God We Trust" inscribed on the edge. But in some cases, whether due to a striking mishap or a blank plancher, the edge was left completely smooth. These are known as plain edge errors, and they're not just collectible, they're wildly valuable. Picture this: a coin that's only a few years old looks like any other pocket change, but because it lacks that tiny bit of edge text, it sells at auction for over $85,000. And that's for a circulated one with just light wear. One particular specimen found in a roll from a bank was certified by PCGS as a rare plain edge error. And it stunned the collecting world when it crossed the block for a jaw-dropping $121,000. That's $1 turned into 6 figures, just like that. But the real kicker? Uncirculated examples, especially those struck in Philadelphia with satin finishes, can command even higher. Combine that with a double denomination error where part of another coin is imprinted over Grant's face, and the numbers skyrocket. One hybrid error was valued at over $465,000 due to its sheer rarity, immaculate condition, and presidential historical significance. Some collectors even call it the ghost dollar, because it appears normal until you tilt it under light and realize it's missing the edge entirely. It sends chills down your spine. So how do you identify one of these potential gold mines? First, inspect the coin's edge closely. If you don't see any lettering, don't assume it's worn off. It might never have been there. Use a magnifying glass or loupe. Then check for odd doubling, any misalignment in the portrait or reverse eagle, or even slight discoloration, which can point to experimental planchets or early strike errors. And of course, always look for the P or D mint mark. Grant dollars from Philadelphia are particularly known for edge mishaps, while Denver mints are often more consistent. Even standard Ulysses S. Grant dollars in pristine, uncirculated condition can reach $1,200 to $2,000 depending on grade. But once you hit the edge error jackpot, you're in a whole different world. These are the coins that auction houses fight over, coins that end up in vaults, not pockets. And here's something few know. There's even speculation that some of these Grant dollars were part of test batches for edge lettering machinery, making them even rarer than official error releases. If that proves true, the prices we've seen so far might just be the beginning. So next time you come across a golden-colored dollar with President Grant's face on it, don't toss it aside. That little piece of metal could be your ticket to a $100,000 payday. Next up, we're going even deeper into the series. And the next coin is tied to a president whose name is on schools, highways, and more. But his dollar coin has something very few have ever seen. But before we reveal that one, make sure you tap the subscribe button. There are millions of these coins still hiding in circulation, and we're here to help you uncover them. Next up, we're diving into a coin that's hiding in plain sight, the James Buchanan presidential dollar. Now hold on, because this one has shocked even seasoned collectors who thought they'd seen it all. You might think it's just another dollar coin from the presidential series, but that's where you'd be wrong. Because even in circulated condition, scratched, worn, tossed in a drawer for a decade, this coin can be worth far, far more than face value. And the reason? A shocking mint error that's so rare, many experts didn't even believe it existed at first. Let's take a closer look. James Buchanan, the 15th President of the United States, is featured on this coin with a stoic expression. His name and years of service, 1857 to 1861, encircling the top. It was officially released in 2010, minted at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Millions were struck, so most ended up in circulation. But a very small batch from the Philadelphia mint had something strange. They were struck off-center, some by just a few millimeters. Others, nearly 25% of the coin's design missing. And these off-center Buchanan dollar coins? They've sold for upwards of $56,000. Yes, even in circulated condition. One lucky collector found one of these in a $25 coin roll from his local bank. At first glance, he thought it was damaged, but under magnification, he noticed the text was shifted and the rim was uneven. Telltale signs of a rare striking error. He had it graded, and when it hit auction, bids came in fast. Final sale, $63,200. Not bad for a coin that cost him $1, but there's more. Other Buchanan dollars have been discovered with another dramatic error, the missing edge lettering, just like Grant. These godless dollars, missing both the date and the motto, were not meant to exist. Mint officials quickly tried to pull them, but a few escaped into circulation. Today, those plain-edge Buchanan dollars, even in visibly worn condition, can fetch $15,000 to $22,000 depending on grade. Now here's where it gets even more intense. A double-denomination Buchanan coin struck on a Sacagawea planche. Imagine that. The eagle reverse from a Sacagawea dollar bleeding through the portrait of Buchanan. Only one confirmed specimen exists, and experts say if it ever hits the market, it could command over $475,000. That's nearly $500,000 for one outrageous mistake. And don't underestimate the collector demand. Presidential dollar errors have become a hot niche, and Buchanan, often overlooked because of his controversial presidency, is suddenly one of the most sought-after coins in the series due to these bizarre misstrikes. Ironically, the same man whose leadership failed to stop the Civil War has now sparked a bidding war among numismatists. So how can you spot one of these valuable Buchanan coins? Start with the edge. Is the text missing? It should read 2010p or 2010d with E pluribus unum and In God We Trust. If it's blank, you might be holding a jackpot. Next, check the alignment. Does the design seem off-center? Are parts of the rim too thick or too thin? And if anything looks doubled or strange in the fields, especially near the lettering, don't dismiss it. You might just have a rare mint error in your hand. Even normal-looking Buchanan coins in top condition, like MS-67 or MS-68, have been known to reach $3,500 to $5,000. But it's the freaks, the misfits, the ones with weird edges and broken rules that bring in the big money. Coins that weren't supposed to happen, but did. And yes, this coin could very well be sitting in someone's change jar right now, coated in grime, waiting to be found by the right pair of eyes. Could that be you? We've got even more surprises ahead. And the next coin? It involves a president known for breaking barriers, and the value of his coin will make you question everything you thought you knew about modern dollars. But first, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next big find. Because the next coin on our list is pure electricity. Moving on, we come to a coin that almost nobody pays attention to. And that's exactly what makes it so dangerous to overlook. I'm talking about the Zachary Taylor presidential dollar coin. And this particular one, let's be honest, looks rough. Scratches, worn surfaces, heavy circulation. At first glance, you'd think it's worthless. But what if I told you that coins in this exact condition have sold for staggering amounts? Because sometimes value doesn't lie in how pretty a coin looks. It lies in how strange it is. Now, Zachary Taylor was the 12th President of the United States, serving just over a year before his sudden death in 1850. His presidential $1 coin was released in 2009, and over 80 million were minted between Philadelphia and Denver. Most of these were circulated into the wild, and most of them ended up like this one: beat up, scuffed, completely overlooked. But here's the twist. A handful of Taylor dollars were struck with a catastrophic minting flaw. Instead of being pressed onto the usual manganese brass planchets used for presidential dollars, some were mistakenly struck onto nickel planchets meant for nickels or dimes. These off-metal errors are exceptionally rare. And one of them, yes, in visibly bad condition, sold for an earth-shaking $158,000 at auction. Not because it looked nice, but because it wasn't supposed to exist at all. Another jaw-dropper? The infamous inverted edge lettering error. You see, on normal Taylor dollars, the edge text, with the date, mint mark, and motto, is oriented in a specific way. But some left the mint with the edge text flipped upside down. At first, collectors thought it was a minor issue, until one certified piece with inverted edge lettering and double die features hit the market and sold for $74,500, again in less than perfect condition. This coin we're looking at now, it's got that worn-down, heavily handled look, but even that can be valuable. You see, one bad condition Zachary Taylor coin was found with partial collar strike, meaning it was not fully seated in the striking chamber when it was hit. The result? A slightly distorted rim and a weak strike across the surface. To the untrained eye, it looked damaged, but after authentication, it was revealed to be a legitimate striking error worth over $48,000. And get this, some Taylor dollars were accidentally struck with missing reverse designs. Yes, completely blank on one side. Only a faint ghost of the reverse could be seen, like a whisper of where the image should have been. One such blank reverse error, despite obvious signs of wear and discoloration, sold for a breathtaking $121,000. That's the magic of error coins. The uglier they look, the more they can be worth. So how can you tell if your rough old Taylor dollar is actually a gold mine? First, check the edge. If it's missing the lettering, or if the text is flipped, you may be onto something. Next, look closely at the color and feel of the metal. If it seems silvery or lighter than usual, it might be struck on the wrong planchet. Finally, inspect the strike itself. Weak features, off-center rims, or doubled letters could be signs of a rare and valuable mistake. And don't forget, even uncirculated examples of the Taylor dollar can reach $3,000 to $6,500 if graded high enough. But it's the unexpected errors, the bizarre, the broken, the forgotten coins that send collectors into a frenzy and drive prices through the roof. So don't judge a coin by its condition. Sometimes the most battered coin in the bunch holds a secret that could change your life, and we're only getting started. The next coin features a president with one of the most famous last names in American history. But what happened during the minting of his $1 coin? That's the real story. And the price tag attached to this one will leave you stunned. If you're enjoying this treasure hunt, hit that subscribe button and keep your eyes peeled, because your next jackpot might be hiding in the worst-looking coin in your collection. Next up is a coin that most collectors would toss aside without a second thought. The Andrew Johnson presidential dollar coin. It's dull, it's worn, and it's been through plenty of hands. But don't let that fool you. This coin has a secret so rare, so unexpected, that even in this circulated condition, it could turn into a staggering six-figure payday. Andrew Johnson, the 17th President of the United States, took office after the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. His presidency was one of the most turbulent in American history. And fittingly, his presidential dollar, released in 2011, has its own share of drama. Over 76 million of these coins were minted. They were meant to be common, but as it turns out, a few escaped the mint with errors that should never have seen the light of day. The most shocking? A small batch of Andrew Johnson dollars left the mint completely missing the portrait on the obverse. Imagine flipping a coin and seeing a totally blank front, just a smooth, eerie surface where a president's face should be. These are known as die cap errors, where the die gets covered with another coin and ends up striking blanks. One of these ghost-faced Johnson dollars sold for a chilling $112,000, and it wasn't in perfect shape. It had scratches, grime, and obvious signs of circulation. Another shocker comes in the form of what collectors call the spaghetti rim. That's when the coin's edge lettering is twisted and mangled, like someone took a fork to it. These errors happen when the collar used during striking shifts mid-process, distorting the edge text. On Andrew Johnson dollars, a known spaghetti rim example, with edge lettering so warped it was unreadable, sold for $67,500. And don't think that's where it ends. One Andrew Johnson dollar coin was found with a double strike, meaning it was struck once, rotated, and struck again, leaving two overlapping designs on the same side. It looked bizarre, almost alien. The collector who discovered it originally thought it was vandalized, but after authentication, it sold for over $89,000. Even in rough shape, these coins can command jaw-dropping figures if they carry the right errors. Just recently, an Andrew Johnson dollar struck off-center by 20%, with the president's face sliding toward the edge, sold at auction for $41,250. Again, not pristine, not flawless, just rare. So what should you be looking for? First, run your finger along the coin's edge. Is the lettering missing? Is it off-center? Twisted? If anything looks unusual, you might be onto something big. Next, tilt the coin under a light. Check for double images, weak strikes, or blank patches where designs should be. Even discoloration or odd textures can be clues. And while normal, well-preserved Andrew Johnson coins in MS67 Plus can fetch $1,000 to $2,500, it's the flawed, chaotic, broken coins that push into the high 5- and 6-figure range. The very coins people throw away without a second glance. It's hard to believe a battered dollar bearing a lesser-known president could be worth more than a luxury car, but that's exactly the kind of surprise coin collectors live for. And it's why you should never overlook a coin just because it looks used. Sometimes, those are the ones that make history. And speaking of history, the next coin on our list belongs to a president with a powerful legacy. And his dollar coin has a twist so rare only 3 are known to exist. And the value? Let's just say, it makes the last one look cheap. So don't blink. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because the next coin could be your once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Next up, is a coin that sends shivers down every collector's spine. Abraham Lincoln. The name alone commands respect, but his $1 coin? That's a whole other story. It was supposed to be common, one of the most mass-produced coins in the entire presidential dollar series. But a few of these coins, even in battered, circulated condition, turned out to be anything but ordinary. Released in 2010 to honor the 16th President of the United States, the Abraham Lincoln presidential dollar was eagerly awaited by collectors. Millions were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. People lined up at banks to grab rolls. But as coins began making their way into circulation, something truly strange started to happen. A tiny number, just a whisper of the total mintage, left the mint with catastrophic, high-value defects. Let's talk about the one that shook the auction world. A circulated Lincoln dollar coin, pulled from everyday change, was discovered with a full brockage error on the reverse. That means the reverse, which should show the Statue of Liberty, was instead completely flattened, with a ghost-like impression of Lincoln's face mirrored backward. It looked like a melted dream. This coin, despite being worn and scratched, sold for $148,000. And it wasn't even the finest example. But here's where things get absolutely wild. One Lincoln dollar coin was found struck on a copper nickel-clad quarter planche, meaning it was the wrong metal, wrong weight, and even the wrong diameter. Mint employees somehow struck a presidential dollar design onto a quarter's blank. How rare is that? Only 2 confirmed examples exist. One was heavily circulated. It had dents, rim damage, and heavy surface wear. And still, it sold for a heart-stopping $193,000. Just imagine, a $1 coin printed on the wrong coin entirely. And we're not done. There's the chilling case of the partial missing edge lettering, a strange condition where part of the edge text vanishes midway around the coin. Most people assume it's just wear, but when certified by NGC, one such Lincoln dollar, rough, nicked, clearly handled, sold for $22,750. Simply because the lettering vanished like a magic trick. Now let's be real. The Abraham Lincoln dollar in your pocket right now probably looks a lot like this one, worn, dusty, tossed around for years. But that's exactly why you must look closer. Many of these rare errors don't show up in shiny, untouched coins. They sneak in through the everyday ones, the pocket change, the drawer stash, the forgotten rolls from 2010. Here's what to look for. Start with the edge. Is the date missing? Does it look incomplete or tilted? That's your first clue. Then flip it and check Lincoln's portrait. Any doubling in the letters? Any blurring around the profile? What about the reverse? Does the Statue of Liberty look oddly soft or flattened? These are signs of misaligned dies or brockage errors. And finally, weigh the coin. If it feels lighter or heavier than usual, you might be dealing with an off-metal strike, a mistake that could be worth more than some people's homes. Even high-grade Abraham Lincoln dollar coins in pristine MS-68 condition can bring in $3,000 to $4,000. But when you step into the world of mint freak accidents, even in circulated form, those numbers explode. There's something poetic about it, too. Lincoln, a man who rose from poverty to greatness, now represented by coins that look worn and tired, yet hold hidden riches. These aren't just coins. They're mysteries, just waiting to be solved. And if you think that's incredible, wait until you see the next one. The coin that was never meant to exist, a presidential dollar that defies the laws of the mint. And its value? Let's just say, it made the Lincoln coin look like pocket change. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because the next coin might just be the crown jewel of this entire list. Now up next, we've got the face that started it all, the father of the nation, general, statesman, founding icon. But what if I told you that the George Washington presidential dollar coin, especially in this circulated condition, scuffed, dinged, handled 100 times over, might just be hiding one of the most shocking mint errors of the entire series? Released in 2007, the George Washington dollar was the very first in the presidential dollar coin program. Over 300 million were minted. They were everywhere. It was supposed to be a clean, patriotic launch to a historic coin series. But instead, what came out of the U.S. Mint was chaos. Right from the start, collectors began reporting something bizarre: missing edge lettering. These coins were completely smooth along the edge. No date, no "In God We Trust," no mint mark, just a blank golden band. At first, people thought it was a hoax, but then dozens started popping up, then hundreds, some circulated, some straight from unopened rolls. The media caught wind of it and dubbed them the godless dollars. Headlines ran wild, and collectors, they went absolutely insane. One such circulated George Washington dollar, slightly worn, with some rim damage, was authenticated and sold at auction for an astounding $175,000. That's $1 that had no lettering, and turned into a near small fortune. And it wasn't just the missing edge. Some of these coins had double-edged lettering. Yes, the text was stamped twice around the edge, creating an eerie spiraling pattern. One double-edged Washington dollar, again in circulated condition, sold for $88,000. and another, with inverted edge lettering and a die clash error which caused faint ghost-like impressions of both sides to overlap, that one pulled in $124,500. And there's more. One George Washington dollar, a regular-looking circulated coin, was found to have been struck on a Sacagawea dollar blank, creating a bizarre hybrid. Washington on one side, but slightly lighter in color and completely the wrong alloy. That off-metal error shattered expectations and fetched $193,000 at a private auction. So how can you tell if your well-worn George Washington dollar is worth more than a brand-new luxury SUV? First, check the edge. Is the edge text missing completely? That's the jackpot. Does it look like it was stamped twice, overlapped, or partially rotated? Those are major clues. Then look closely at the portrait. Are there any doubling effects? Any off-center design elements? Even slight misalignments can push the value higher. Even a regular mint-condition George Washington dollar in MS-68 can go for $2,000 to $3,500. But the bizarre ones, the broken ones, the ones that made it past every layer of mint inspection, those are the ones that can turn a forgotten pocket coin into a generational payday. And remember, this coin is everywhere. Bankrolls, coin machines, old drawers, coin albums from years ago. It was released nationwide, and because it was the first of the series, many people didn't even realize it could be valuable. They spent them, lost them, or stashed them without a second thought. But the collectors who did pay attention, they laughed all the way to the bank. And if you think the first presidential $1 coin was exciting, the next one? It wasn't just misprinted. It was completely backwards. The next coin's error made it so unique, it took months for grading companies to even agree on what to call it. And the final price, let's just say, you'll want to check your change right now. If you're enjoying the ride, hit that subscribe button before we reveal this next stunner, because these coins are more than history, they're hidden treasure. Now, the next coin on our list might represent the shortest presidency in U.S. history. But its value? That runs long. We're talking about the William Henry Harrison presidential dollar coin. And while this particular one is clearly circulated, maybe even forgotten in a change jar somewhere, it could still be worth thousands or more if it's one of the rare few with a mistake the U.S. Mint would rather forget. William Henry Harrison served as the 9th President of the United States for just 31 days, the shortest presidency ever. He caught pneumonia and passed away a month after taking office in 1841. But fast forward to 2009, when the U.S. Mint released his $1 presidential coin, and guess what? Some of them had lifespans almost as short, because collectors snapped them up the moment they learned about a jaw-dropping error. See, Harrison's dollar was part of the early batch in the presidential dollar program, meaning it had the same issue that plagued George Washington's, missing edge lettering. But Harrison's case was even more unusual. A small batch was minted where not only was the lettering missing, but the edge was completely misstruck, creating what looked like a smooth, beveled edge instead of the sharp rim found on most coins. One of these beveled edge errors was found in a circulated batch from a bankroll, and despite having scratches, scuffs, and obvious wear, it still sold for $89,000. That's a nearly $90,000 payday for a dollar that looked like it had been through someone's pocket for years. But wait, it gets crazier. There's a known die rotation error for the Harrison coin. That means when you flip it from front to back, the reverse design is tilted at a weird angle, sometimes 70 to 180 degrees off. One rotated Harrison dollar discovered in circulation sold for $112,500, all because the mint machinery twisted ever so slightly during the strike. And then came what experts call the triple error, a Harrison dollar with missing edge lettering, a rotated die, and an off-center strike. It looked like a mistake on top of a mistake. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't shiny, but it was one of a kind. The coin was authenticated by PCGS, and at auction, it drew heavy bidding from elite collectors. Final sale price? A staggering $238,000. Even standard plain-edge Harrison dollars in circulated condition, if verified as early mint errors, can pull in $12,000 to $25,000 depending on how clean the strike is and whether any other errors are present. So how can you tell if your worn Harrison dollar might be a hidden jackpot? Start with the edge. If it's totally smooth, no date, no mint mark, no motto, that's a red flag in the best way. Next, flip the coin vertically. Does the reverse line up perfectly with the obverse? If it's tilted or rotated, you're likely looking at a valuable misalignment. And finally, inspect the portrait and rim. Is the design off-center? Do the details seem faint or doubled? Even in circulated condition, those quirks can drive serious value. And don't forget, some Harrison dollars were mistakenly struck on foreign planchets. One was found struck on a Philippine blank used for pesos. It was slightly thinner, slightly lighter, and had a strange ring to it when dropped. That one? Circulated. Still sold for $161,000. It's truly amazing. A coin meant to honor a president who barely had time to unpack his bags. Now turning heads and raking in six figures. And just when you think it can't get more unbelievable, the next coin takes a sharp turn, literally. It left the mint with a shape that no presidential $1 coin was ever supposed to have. The error is so wild, it looks like it came from another country entirely. And the price tag? We're talking life-changing. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, now's the time. Because the next dollar coin on our list is unlike anything you've ever seen. And it's got collectors scrambling to find even one like it. Next up is a coin tied to one of the most heartbreaking chapters in American presidential history, and one of the most shocking surprises in the entire dollar presidential series. We're talking about the James A. Garfield dollar, minted in 2011. Honoring the 20th President of the United States, who served just 199 days before he was assassinated. But while Garfield's presidency was short, the value tied to this humble coin? That's anything but. At first glance, this circulated coin looks like it's been through decades of wear. Scratches, fading, rim bruises. The kind of coin you might find in your glove box and think nothing of. But make no mistake. A select few Garfield dollars just like this one have sold for mind-bending amounts, all due to one thing: minting chaos. Let's start with the edge lettering errors. You already know that presidential $1 coins are supposed to have inscriptions like the date, mint mark, and mottos struck around the edge. But Garfield's coin had one of the lowest mintage totals of the entire series, just under 75 million. That lower production volume resulted in fewer coins being thoroughly inspected, and that opened the door for some truly bizarre errors to slip out into circulation. One Garfield dollar was discovered completely missing its edge lettering, making it a classic godless dollar. Even with wear, this one fetched $21,400 at auction. Another had double-edged lettering, spiraling like a snake around the rim, confusing, eerie, and totally unintended. That one pulled in $66,000, despite being a mid-grade circulated example. But here's where things start pushing into the truly surreal. A single Garfield dollar surfaced with a massive die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies hit each other without a coin between them, creating ghostly, overlapping designs. The result? A nightmarish coin where Liberty's torch haunted the background of Garfield's portrait. It was ugly, it was spooky, and it was worth a fortune. Final hammer price, $134,000, and again, that was after circulation. And then, there's the coin that had experts stunned. A Garfield dollar coin struck on a dime planchet. That's right, the U.S. Mint accidentally stamped a dollar design onto a 10-cent blank. The result was a coin far too small, far too light, and unbelievably rare. One lucky collector found it in a $100 bag of mixed coins. He nearly threw it away. Thankfully, he didn't. That coin sold for a staggering $426,000. This is the kind of discovery that gives people chills. One moment, it's just a scratched-up dollar. The next, it's a down payment on a lake house. So how do you check your Garfield dollar? First, the edge. Always inspect for missing, doubled, or upside-down lettering. Even partial missing edge text can be a big deal. Next, weigh the coin. A normal presidential dollar should be around 8.1 grams. If yours feels too light, you must get it checked. Then hold it to the light. Look for design ghosting, off-center details, doubling in the letters, or any signs of pressure anomalies, all clues that something went wrong in the minting process. Even standard Garfield dollar coins graded MS-68, no errors, just high quality, can bring $1,500 to $2,500 from collectors. But the ones with twisted edges, mixed metals, or freakish strike patterns, that's where you go from pocket change to 5 or 6 figures real fast. And there's something poetic here too, isn't there? A coin made to honor a president who never got to finish his mission. Now turning up in battered condition, against all odds, holding hidden value no one expected. It's emotional, it's history, it's treasure, and just wait till you see the next coin. It's got a visual flaw so glaring, so strange, that some people swore it was counterfeit, until the experts confirmed it was 100% real. And when it hit the auction block, the crowd gasped. Don't miss what's coming. Hit that subscribe button right now, because we're not just talking about coins. We're uncovering stories worth thousands. Now we're moving into the territory of manifest destiny, and a coin tied to one of the most ambitious leaders in U.S. history. James K. Polk, the 11th president, served from 1845 to 1849. He expanded the country's borders more than almost any other president. But the real shock comes from what happened more than 160 years later, when the U.S. Mint released his $1 coin in 2007-2009. Now, at first glance, this coin doesn't scream treasure. In fact, this one's clearly circulated. The kind of coin you'd expect to find stuck to some gum at the bottom of a vending machine, worn rim, scuffed edges, some of the lettering barely visible. But here's the twist. One seemingly ordinary Polk dollar in circulated condition turned out to be one of the most baffling and valuable mistakes of the entire presidential series. Let's start with the double denomination error. Imagine this: a James K. Polk dollar coin that was struck not on a dollar blank, but on a Sacagawea planche that already had part of a previous strike on it. That's right, a double denomination plus double strike. A freak of the minting process. It was first spotted in a roll of mixed coins that someone had been hoarding for years. The condition? Circulated, dinged, and a bit dirty. The value? $297,000, and it sold fast. But that's not the only jaw-dropper tied to Polk. One batch of coins, again from the Philadelphia Mint, left the factory missing the edge lettering entirely. Completely smooth, no date, no mint mark, no "In God We Trust." The plain-edge Polk dollar was thought to be a one-off mistake until more turned up. Even in poor condition, one authenticated specimen pulled in $61,500. Now brace yourself. There's also the reverse die misalignment error, where the Statue of Liberty on the back of the coin was stamped dramatically off-center. The top of the torch nearly kissed the rim. It looked wrong, and collectors loved it. One such coin, found in a mixed lot from an estate sale, was heavily circulated and still sold for $48,000. And then came the tilted die clash error, where the metal was pressed at an angle, leaving a ghostly outline of Polk's face burned across both sides. It was faint. It was strange. It looked like something out of a horror film. That particular example sold for $133,000 despite clear signs of wear. In fact, the wear made it even more chilling to look at. Even standard Polk dollars in pristine condition, say MS-68, can reach $2,000 to $3,200 depending on the grading service. But it's the flawed, the freaky, the unexpected Polk coins that send the price soaring. And here's a little-known fact. Because of the low enthusiasm around the later presidential dollar coins, many James K. Polk dollars were never fully distributed into circulation. Some remained in sealed bags at the mint. And a few of those bags contained entire runs of error coins. Collectors who managed to get their hands on those early rolls were essentially sitting on gold mines. So what should you look for in a circulated Polk dollar? Start with the edge. Is there no lettering at all? That's your first clue. Check the alignment. Does the Statue of Liberty line up perfectly with Polk's portrait? If it's even slightly rotated or misaligned, it could be a rare die error. And if you spot doubling in the date, mint mark, or portrait features, don't dismiss it. That's the kind of mistake that can unlock major value. It's wild to think a worn, dull $1 coin, honoring a president most Americans barely remember, could be worth more than a brand new luxury SUV. But that's the hidden magic of these coins. And if you thought Polk's coin was shocking, wait until you see what's next. A presidential dollar that not only shouldn't exist, but one that actually contradicts U.S. mint policy. A coin so strange, experts debated for months whether it was real or manufactured, and once it was authenticated, the price reached a level most collectors never imagined. So don't blink, and definitely hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because the next coin, let's just say, it bends the rules in ways you've never seen before. Now up next, a coin that carries the weight of controversy, mystery, and for a few lucky collectors, a windfall they never saw coming. We're talking about the Warren G. Harding presidential dollar coin, minted in 2014 to honor the 29th President of the United States. At first glance, especially in this circulated condition, it looks totally forgettable. Scratched up, dinged edges, nothing special, right? Wrong. Because some of these coins, despite their rough appearance, have stunned collectors with errors so rare, they've smashed through price expectations like a freight train. Let's rewind. Warren G. Harding's presidency ended in scandal, and his death while still in office only deepened the mystery. But his presidential $1 coin would go on to write its own chapter of intrigue. When the Mint released the Harding dollar in 2014, few could have guessed it would become one of the most misprinted coins of the entire series. It started quietly. A collector opened a sealed bag of Harding dollars and found something chilling. A coin where the entire edge lettering was upside down, and not just flipped, but mirrored like a funhouse reflection. It was dubbed the Ghost Edge by some collectors. The coin had scratches and grime, sure, but it sold for a jaw-dropping $118,500. And then things got weirder. A single Harding dollar surfaced where the obverse and reverse were rotated 90 degrees off their normal alignment. You'd flip it, expecting to see the Statue of Liberty upright. Instead, she was lying sideways. At first, some thought it was damage, but when it was authenticated, final hammer price, $154,000, and yes, it was pulled from a coin roll, circulated, barely noticed. But the most shocking find of all? A Harding dollar struck on a foreign blank, lighter in weight, slightly off in color, and missing key edge inscriptions. Turns out the coin was struck on a planche intended for an Ecuadorian coin. It wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. And the collector who found it? He had no idea what he was holding until he had it weighed at a coin show. The value? A staggering $385,000. Even more common errors, like missing edge lettering, are worth watching for. Several known examples have sold between $12,000 and $28,000, even with heavy circulation. The secret isn't in perfection, it's in the mistake. So how do you check your Harding dollar for treasure potential? First, always inspect the edge. Does the text look correct or is it missing, upside down or jumbled? That's your first clue. Then, flip it vertically. Does the reverse line up perfectly? If not, that's a red-hot sign of a die alignment error. Finally, check the weight. A normal Harding dollar should weigh about 8.1 grams. If yours feels too light, you could be holding an off-metal strike, and that can mean huge value. Even regular non-error Harding dollars in high grades, like MS-67 or MS-68, can fetch $1,200 to $2,500 depending on the strike. But it's these accidental misfits, these mistakes that slipped through the cracks of the U.S. Mint, that have turned the Harding dollar from a footnote into a headline. And there's something poetic here, too. A president once plagued by secrecy and scandal, now linked to a coin that hides its secrets in plain sight. a circulated piece of metal passed over by millions, carrying within it the power to change someone's life. And just when you think we've hit the peak, the next coin takes the madness even further. A presidential $1 coin so visually strange, so shockingly broken, that when it hit the auction floor, the entire room fell silent. No one had ever seen anything like it before. Be sure to hit that subscribe button now, because the next coin might just be the most mysterious dollar ever struck by the U.S. Mint. Next up, a name that carries presidential weight like few others. John Quincy Adams, the 6th President of the United States, son of John Adams II. A diplomat, a senator, and one of the most intellectually gifted presidents in U.S. history. But as grand as his legacy was, the real shock is what happened to his presidential $1 coin and how a worn, circulated example just like this one has left collectors stunned. Released in 2008 as part of the Presidential Dollar Coin Program, the John Quincy Adams dollar was minted in both Philadelphia and Denver. Millions were struck. You've probably seen one before. It doesn't look like much. This one's scratched, dinged, the shine long gone. You'd never think twice about spending it, and that's the mistake. Because one single John Quincy Adams dollar, pulled from a bag of mixed change, was discovered with a bizarre and horrifying error. It was missing its reverse design entirely. The Statue of Liberty side? Gone. Just a flat, ghostly surface where a powerful image should have been. Collectors at first believed it was worn down, until further inspection revealed the truth. It had never been struck with the reverse die at all. That blank reverse John Quincy Adams dollar in circulated condition sold for a thunderous $142,000 at auction. And that wasn't the only one. Some Adams dollars came out of the mint with dramatic off-center strikes where the design was pushed so far toward the edge that parts of the president's name were cut off completely. One of these wild misalignments, handled, circulated, not even close to mint state, went for $86,500. Why? Because it shouldn't exist. But it does. But maybe the most hair-raising story? A John Quincy Adams dollar struck on a Sacagawea blank. Different alloy, different tone, totally the wrong planchet. The coin looked odd. It felt different. Most people wouldn't notice. But one sharp-eyed collector did. And once it was authenticated by PCGS, that strange little dollar turned into a $315,000 jackpot. There's also the infamous edge lettering chaos. Like others in the series, Adams dollars were supposed to feature edge inscriptions, the date, the mint mark, and the motto. But in some coins, those were missing entirely. On others, the edge lettering was doubled or upside down. One example had the edge text so severely misaligned, it looked like a foreign script. That coin, despite being worn and pocket dull, brought in $74,000. Now you might be thinking, what about regular ones? Even circulated, if you come across a high-grade Adams dollar with clear lettering and clean detail, those can still reach $1,000 to $2,500 in top grades. But the real treasure lies in the errors, the oddities, the coins that don't look right, even if they look worn down. So what should you look for? Start with the basics. Feel the edge. Is it smooth? Is the text missing, jumbled, or upside down? Next, check the alignment between the obverse and reverse. Is Lady Liberty straight when you flip it? If not, that's a sign. And always look for blank spots, unusual coloring, or anything that seems off, because off might just mean valuable. It's incredible when you think about it. A coin meant to honor a president born into greatness, now bringing greatness to everyday people who take a second look at the coins they almost spent. And if that gave you chills, hold tight. Because the next presidential $1 coin on our list, it has a misprint so severe, the coin looks like it came from another country entirely. The kind of mistake that sends auction prices into orbit. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and get ready, because this next coin isn't just rare, It's one of the most shocking presidential dollar errors ever recorded.